What you want? What you want?
Hello everyone and welcome to In the Huddle, your weekly guide to high school football in and around Bucks and Montgomery counties. We're here to preview the Week 10 of the high school football season. I'm Dom Costantino from the Intelligencer, and with me as always is Kevin Cooney from the Bucks County Courier-Times. And Kev, we're here at Falcon Field where this Friday Neshaminy and Pennsbury will play a game that we figured would be pretty big, but given that Pennsbury is coming off that loss to Abington now, takes on a whole new meeting.
Yeah.
So, what can we expect?
It's a huge game because the Suburban National title is at stake. Pretty much the second place position probably in the district point standings is at stake. The loser of the game is probably going to fall to 8th and could face Abington in the first round of playoffs. Both teams lost to Abington, obviously. Look, what I want to see is how these teams respond to one another, because I think both of them are good, but both have flaws. I think when you look at Pennsbury, it's the old thing that, they're very predictable on offense. And if Dante Devine doesn't have a big game right now, they're going to struggle. And they struggled in the second half last week offensively against Abington. The Neshamany's defense is very good, and they're kind of similar to Abington in what they do. What I want to see from Neshaminy, though, is can they generate offense beside Brian Dean? Can Charlie Martorello and Brian Titus find a way to get them moving consistently down the field without turning the ball over? Turning the ball over has been a big thing for Neshaminy early here, through most of the season. And also, they got to avoid the slow start. They had a slow start last week against Van Salem. They can't afford to do it here against Pennsbury. Second topic up for discussion here in the Huddle is the big game in the Continental Conference this week. It's Souderton and Quakertown. Souderton needing the win and have perhaps a break or two go their way to get into the postseason. Quakertown already in, but looking to improve its seeding. Dom, Souderton's play really well right now coming down the stretch of the Continental. Are they the favorite?
I think if you're looking at it just the way Souderton's played, winning 5 of their last 6 decisively in most of those games, playing at home, they probably have to be the favorite in this game, despite the fact that they're 5-4 and Quakertown is 7-2. Souderton needs this game more than Quakertown. Souderton needs to win to get into the playoffs. They likely also need some help. Right in front of them, they've got Council Rock North, Glen Mills, Unionville, and Conestoga all sitting there at 6-3. They probably need 3 of those 4 teams to lose. Definitely need 2 of them perhaps to even fall, in addition to beating Quakertown. Now, Quakertown likely in at 7-2, Kev.
Right.
I would say they can improve their standing with a win. With a loss, they fall to 7-3. I would think that they're going to fall maybe to the bottom of the bracket, 14, 15, 16. There's obviously a lot of scenarios to figure out that we're not smart enough to do, but in all likelihood, the winner of this game is in pretty good shape for the playoffs, but Souderton is going to need more help than Quakertown will. There's one other big National Conference game on the schedule this week, the uncivil war between Council Rock North and Council Rock South. Some playoff implications riding on that in terms of positioning, and even Council Rock North may be a bubble team for the playoffs. Is that right, Kevin?
Yeah, Council Rock North really cannot afford to lose this game. If you're North, you have 3 losses already. A 4th loss really puts you kind of on the bubble. There's a lot of teams in there. Souderton obviously is one of them that has 4 losses that could get in. I think if you're looking at it, Council Rock South needs a real statement win. They had the one against Abington earlier, but if they beat North and they get in, and this was the game that knocked South out last year, you're looking at an 8-2 team going into the playoffs. That would be something for that program. One of those games kind of flying below the radar because of the Neshaminy, Pennsbury, and Souderton, Quakertown, and even Council Rock North, Council Rock South. It's a pretty important battle in the American Conference. Norristown has a home game right now in the first round of the tournament. They could clinch the division title if they beat Upper Moreland, who really needs this game, Dom, to get into the AAA tournament.
Absolutely. I mean, I think it's pretty simple for Upper Moreland. They beat Norristown at home this week. They're in the tournament. If they lose, they're probably going to be out. The Golden Bears are currently in 7th place in the point standings. 8 teams get in AAA. And with a win, Upper Moreland would get a huge boost because of Norristown's 8-1 record. And not only that, the Golden Bears have a chance to play for another conference title. If Upper Dublin were to lose to Wissahickon, there's an outside chance of that happening. That would force a three-way tie atop the conference standings. And if you're Upper Moreland, you have to feel pretty good about things right now in terms of the way they're playing. They got 280 rushing yards out of Chris Smallwood last week in a heart-thumping win over Cheltenham, a very exciting win, 28-22, where they scored in the final minute and managed to keep Cheltenham from scoring despite 3 trips to the red zone in the fourth quarter of that game. So a lot of momentum going into this for Upper Moreland. But they've got to take care of business and beat Norristown, and everything else will fall into place. And now it's time for 4 Downs, America's favorite quick hit segment. Kevin, 2 weeks ago, Conwell Egan lost a 4-point game to North Catholic. They get the Falcons again this week in the first round of the AAA Division playoffs. What can we expect?
Probably the same type of game. You know, both teams able to get some offense, both teams able to get a little defensive thing going. I think Egan, though, has always played well in these type of games. You know, the one team that's given them trouble has been Wood in the postseason when they've made it. I think Egan wins this game for some reason. There's probably better football reasons. I look for Anthony Singler to have a big day. Second down now, and Dom, as we approach the end of the season, not every team's going to make the playoffs. What's one team you're looking at, you know, up in your area that you think stands out towards maybe next year?
I think Central Bucks South, with the way the Titans have played late in the season here. They gave North Penn a battle earlier in the year, and then last week they go out and they hang 42 on Penridge, win the game 42-32. The Titans are 3-6. They've played a lot of underclassmen this year, a lot of juniors, and a sophomore quarterback for most of the season in Matt Johns. I think the Titans, just given the way they're finishing up the season, could ride that into next season with some momentum. They closed the season with a rivalry game against CB East this week. If they finish up at 4-6 after the way they had started, there could be some promise for the Titans, who started 0-4 this year. And turning our attentions to the small schools, Kevin, Bristol, kind of a bubble team in single A with a chance to get into the playoffs, possibly. They have Lower Moreland this week in something of a rivalry game there in the Bicentennial Athletic League. Rivalry game, league title on the line. Really, Bristol needs to win this to get in. And they've shown signs of kind of bouncing back from their midseason slump in the last couple weeks. I want to see how they handle, you know, Lower Moreland's rushing game, because right now that's what the Lions have been doing really well. And as we wrap up, of course, it's, you know, PowerPoints are everywhere. And really, Dom, in 10 seconds, explain PowerPoints. PowerPoints. Well, you get 100 points for each win you have within your conference, or within your classification, I should say. And then 10 additional points for each victory by a team you've beaten. And then it drops down if you play teams in lower classifications and so on and so forth. So you can see how this turns into a jumbled mess. Time's up. You have to have a PhD to even understand this kind of thing. Yeah, it's a good thing they don't have PowerPoints on life, because, you know, Kevin couldn't explain that in 30 seconds. No, I couldn't, pretty much. That's it for us in the Huddle this week. We'll be back with the first playoff edition. Playoffs? We'll talk about next week. You kidding me? Don't forget to read our special Sunday section. We'll have the entire playoff picture for you Sunday morning in the Intelligencer and the Bucks County Courier-Times. We'll also have it on BucksMountainSportsNow.com. And our friends at WMPV have their annual selection show Friday night at 11 o'clock, looking at the entire field from what we see heading into the postseason. We'll be back here next week. For Dom Cosentino, I'm Kevin Cooney. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next week here on the Huddle. Come on.